Hello, Fightful Faithful. Welcome to another episode of the AEW Dynamite Fightful post-show review thing. Sean's not here again. He just keeps having things come up on Wednesdays. I promise it's not you guys. I mean, like if you're sitting there going like, Sean doesn't love us anymore, that's not the reason, I promise. All of the stuff that keeps coming up on Wednesdays. So the opposite of a white lady is SP3 because Kate wasn't available. So we got SP3 instead. I know it says Kate Elizabeth down there, and if you were saying to yourself, it says Kate Elizabeth, she looks like she's got work done. No, it's a different person altogether, and that person is SP3. SP3, how you doing? We haven't done one of these in a while.
I can't tell you what you just did to my head. It's 3 a.m. over here. That just rocked me. That rocked me. I am literally making that one of my nicknames now. The opposite of a white woman.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Oh, I'm doing so well. When Kate said do a show with Alex, I was like, yeah, it doesn't matter if it's 5 hours ahead in the UK. I'm doing it because I always have fun talking about wrestling with you, sir.
Well, I'm glad, and we'll try and keep you awake because I know it's early over there. We'll try and keep things brisk and lively. So it is to go home to AEW Revolution, which is on Sunday, and they're trying to keep all their juggling balls in the air. They still have the Collision that's happening, so that's more stuff that's going on. We had at least one match that I know of added to the card. Revolution tonight formally, so that's good. Like there's as go homes go, this was go homey, but not like with an overdose of go hominess, because sometimes that happens. Yeah,
this was the right amount of go home. I think the segments that they wanted to hit. Yeah. But they did kind of, it was like a little bit of a format change from their usual go-home shows that they do.
Yeah. So the first thing is a little MJF is angry at Hangman standing in the alley by the arena. But to be continued on that front. We'll talk about the majority of that later. The first thing we really got was the Swerve and Ricochet contract signing, which was a lot of fun, some good stuff there with Ricochet. Ricochet, I feel personally attacked that that dude wearing a backwards fitted cap just screams villain to you people. Like not all men wearing a backwards fitted cap. That's all I'm going to say. All men, but not all men wearing a backwards fitted cap. That's all I'm going to say to that. But yeah, that seems to be part of his characteristic, is that particular choice. But I really enjoyed Ricochet's part of this, just would not shut up to Swerve and wouldn't sign the contract. Swerve keeping going like, just sign the damn contract. Like, I will. I'm going to get to it. I came in here to sign the contract. I'm gonna sign it, but on my own time. And I thought all the stuff that he was doing was suitably nerd Ricochet. Like this kind of thing that he is doing. It works so well for him. He's playing it perfectly. And I just love how pissed Swerve is at him, just he just threw gritted teeth all the time. And I also enjoyed the little tease of, oh yeah, I still got the rope. I didn't bring it out here. It's going through some alterations. You'll see it on Sunday. It's pretty great. So the alterations, I hope, are outstanding. I have no doubt that they will be. But what did you think of the Ricochet portion of this before we got Swerve coming back at him?
I just think that Ricochet is the best heel character in wrestling right now because he just everything he does is to draw the most amount of heat, to be the most annoying person on the television show, and he always accomplishes it. He always hits the right tone. And yes, I agree. He did the right thing with getting under Swerve's skin. I love him bringing up Swerve's history of contract signings not going too well for him, because I was like, when he said that, I was like, yeah, you led against Joe, you led against Hangman. The last time you did a contract signing, your house got burnt down. Yeah, you're having a bad run of contract signings. So I like Ricochet reminding the people at home and myself of everything that's happened in this format for Swerve. And I like Swerve's response, where he just went in and went to more of like Swerve one-on-one with a rival. He always has those one-liners that kind of get under his rival's skin. So I like the fact that he took everything Ricochet had, and then he said the line that got under Ricochet's skin enough to make him pull out the scissors.
Yeah, that's the secret sauce, right? Is you find the thing that really shouldn't be a thing that pisses off this guy, but it does. You'll remember for two things: one, for losing to Swerve, and two, for your ring announcer wife. And Ricochet just stands up immediately, like them's fighting words. And really, like, one of the things that I always thought was funny is they always do that with like they'll try and insult Seth Rollins by saying your wife is more famous than you are. It's like, yeah, isn't she great? I love my wife. She might be the best women's wrestler of all time. I love my wife. Thank you for acknowledging how great my wife is, as opposed to how dare you try and emasculate me by saying my wife is better than I am. And anybody who wants to compliment my wife gets a big thumbs up from me because she's great. So I feel like we should do that more often as men. When someone compliments your wife as an insult to you, just say, you know what? You're right. She is great.
I would have been like the best ring announcer. You say it right, sir. She's not just a ring announcing wife. She's the best ring announcing wife in the biz. Yep. I would have said something like that. But Ricochet pulling out the scissors and then Swerve just simply stopping him and then pulling out some scissors of his own. And I'm sorry, I belly laughed at Ricochet's sell of the scissors. Him looking at, I can't believe I'm bleeding my own blood.
Yes. Yeah, it was very, very good. I love that Swerve brought his own pair and just bonked him on the head. And I for some reason I missed the announcement of what ended up being the main event. So I thought this was the only time we were going to see them. And I was like, oh, Swerve came out on top in the contract signing. Ricochet's definitely winning. I don't know how I feel about that. And then they did a thing at the end where it went the other way. So maybe it like reversed itself. You know, they hit the Uno reverse card on him, and now we don't know who is going to be the person who comes out on top. So I thought the segment did really well for it. Like these guys really, really, really don't like each other. They've made it extra personal. I like Chi-Town Spurs, correct. Nobody makes me bleed my own blood. That's a Ricochet thing, man, for sure.
Absolutely.
That's great. Yes. No, James, it's true. Kate does look different tonight. Listen, the day when they get me a generic other than Kate, like frame, I'll use that one. But it's just, okay, hold on, wait. I don't know if does this apply to you? There we go. Wrestling Writer. That is your name. Your name is Wrestling Writer.
Hey, I don't know if you know this, but I got a lot of people upset with my top 10 WWE women's wrestlers of all time list. So yes, I do qualify as Wrestling Writer.
Here's one thing that I learned in my brief time as a wrestling writer. Try not to make any declarative statements about anything because somebody's going to have a problem with you. You know, that's just the thing. You know what I mean? Just do a lot of maybe this, but also maybe the thing that you think. And then we move on and everyone's happy. Anyway, so our first match of the night took up most of the first hour of the show.
Yeah.
And it is poison to me. And everybody else loves it. I can't stand house show 8-man tags where you just like these are 4 loosely defined baby faces, and these are 4 kind of on the same team heels, and let's just throw them in the ring for 20 minutes, is not a thing I ever really enjoyed. I like all 8 of these guys. I think they're all great workers. The work is not the problem I have with this. My thing is that anything you do leading, especially in the last couple of weeks leading up to a pay-per-view, should feed something, should feed the story, should feed a specific feud, should feed imminent character development. And the match itself did none of those things to me, but the post-match did all of those things. So my thought was that we could have had another women's match on the card and just done this with Ospreay and Fletcher going to do a face-to-face. But instead of that, Mark Davis gets in behind him, puts him out, Fletcher comes out, we do the entire post-match angle without having to have the 25-minute match that really didn't do much of anything. As far as I know, the only guy of the 8 people in that match who's on the main card is Ospreay. We have OC and Mark Briscoe teaming with the guy who likes Costco. That's on the pre-show. Teaming with that guy. On the pre-show, but not on the main card. So I just did. Also, listen, I don't know if I'll ever be able to look at Brian Cage and Lance Archer the same way again after last week. They lost to the Outrunners. I don't know if frankly, I'm too mad at them to even look at them right now. So that's my whole thing. I thought the match was fine. It was very good. Brian Keith ends up taking the pin with a hellacious hidden blade. But all of that, I felt like could have been handled in a different way. The post-match, which we'll talk about after you talk about the match, post-match was outstanding. But what were your thoughts about the match?
Yeah, as soon as this match was announced on social media, and I was like, okay, Ospreay is in this, so I guess we're gonna get some follow-up, some build to Kyle Fletcher, and he is facing the Don Callis family. He is feuding with the Don Callis family in this matchup. He did face Brian Keith last week. This would make sense if it wasn't a go-home show. If this was like last week, then I probably would be less offensive of it. And the match itself in a vacuum was a fun matchup. It was a fun way to kick off the show. OC doing the one punch after everybody did 10 punches in the corner. That made me laugh.
That's a wonderful thing for the kids at the house show. But like this is it, man. This is your last Collision as well, but this is your last 2 hours to make people buy the pay-per-view. Not if they subscribe to Peacock already and like their kids like to watch Despicable Me on there. Like they have to go out and spend $50 on the pay-per-view. That time on your last go home show is precious. So like just doing that's a very long 8-man tag. And none of the actual match, I thought, did a whole lot for any of the stories going into the pay-per-view that wouldn't have been able to do on a random, weeks from the pay-per-view match. The post-match was amazing because we have Davis out there who seems to, especially after tonight, be kind of half in and half out of the Callis family. Like basically he apparently signed a contract with Don Callis, should never have done that. And now he's at his whim. He can do whatever he wants. But whatever Don Callis wants. So he sneaks up behind Ospreay and sinks in a pretty deep chokehold and chokes him out, but immediately regrets his decision. Like he's sitting over there in the corner, like just going, I don't feel good about this. And out comes Fletcher. And yes, indeed, in the time, whenever Kyle Fletcher is not actively on television, he is lifting weights. That's it. He's doing it in his sleep. He's eating while lifting weights like that. He is yoked. Is far too like oxen are not this yoked. Like this man is. He's gigantic now. I can't wait to see this match to see if all of that extra muscle has made him like just if he starts walking around like John Cena, like we'll know that he put on too much. But because he's so damn athletic too, I can't wait to see it. But that he is yoked. He comes out and they beat the absolute dog piss out of Will Ospreay. Did we see them handle the three guys that were teaming with Ospreay?
Yeah. Yeah, the murder machines took out all of
Good.
them. I think they did a power bomb to OC onto the apron. They did a choke slam to Briscoe onto the apron, and then the choke bomb to Powerhouse Hobbs on the steps.
I'm glad they didn't just well, we're only loosely defined friends, so we're gonna go hit catering. We're gonna go take a shower, then hit catering. You tell us how this whole thing went. Because it did feel like I missed them taking them out. I'm glad that we actually sewed up that loose end. But they abused Will Ospreay. And then Davis is like, no, we don't have to do this. We won. We look at him. He's absolutely been taken out before your match on Sunday. I don't think he's 100% now. Look at him. He's dead. So, and then they're like, no. In fact, you're going to do it. In fact, you're going to be the one who hits him with the chair. And Davis just has to do it, but then he leaves. He does it, and then he drops the chair, and he walks up the ramp. He doesn't want to have anything to do with this. And that is all the character progression, the character arc work that I needed from the entire segment happened there, because I think there's a very good chance after this that Davis is the one who affects the outcome one way or the other. After this, doing this on the go home means he either decides to go against the family and choose Ospreay, or more likely, because this is what they did with Wheeler Yuta, so I know they got it fresh at the top of the playbook, we think he might do the right thing, but then ends up actually choosing the bad guys and fully going heel. We saw Kyle Fletcher do it when he turned on Ospreay. I think that might be what we get, but I feel like because it's a trilogy, it can't no one can be a definitive winner of the trilogy between Kyle Fletcher and Will Ospreay. It has to be some kind of shenanigans enter that outcome so they can do more of these matches in the future. So I'm pretty sure we're going to get old Dunkzilla himself sticking his nose in and making something happen out of this.
I could see that. I did like the character progression. I just love the part where Kyle pushes Mark Davis and says, "This is not the same anymore. I'm the one in charge. You listen to me. Go hit him with the chair." Because throughout, and I love commentary adding the bit that Mark Davis was always the mentor to Kyle Fletcher in Aussie Open, but now things have changed. Totally agree that Kyle Fletcher looked amazing tonight, and it feels like the last month, Tony Khan has been giving out free gym passes to a lot of people. There was one week where Adam Cole had the ripped arm when he had the cut off sleeves. Matthew Jackson, you saw him in the Tokyo Dome looking all yoked out. Brian Keith looks like he's in the best shape of his career. It's like multiple guys on this roster has really hit the gym in the past month, and I'm very happy about it because Kyle Fletcher looked like $1 million out there. That brain buster onto the steel chair was nasty. Ooh, that was nasty. That was a nice explanation point for. I agree. The post match lapped the actual match. The match did not need to be 20 minutes long. We could have just saved it for the post match here, and then add that Momo Watanabe versus Serena Deeb matchup to this card here, because Momo needs to be introduced to the AEW audience on the bigger AEW show, so it would have been better here.
I agree for sure. I really liked the women's match we got tonight, but talk about having nothing that affects the pay-per-view whatsoever. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I love that they're doing feuds between upper mid-card women where the title's not involved. I love that they're doing them. But those are the things you get to do in the weeks between the pay-per-views where nothing is imminent. You know what I mean? Doing the Momo and Serena Deeb match, they're doing a Collision. Doing that here allows us to get the progression of the storytelling for the TBS title match that we are still lacking. I like we'll talk about it right now. I guess they interviewed Mercedes. I thought it was effective. She did her little piece. She was fine. Not a problem, but it didn't really make it be like, okay, well, now we got to see it. You know what I mean? If you watch, Momo actually do stuff in the ring for the first time on Dynamite, maybe that's a little bit more of more anticipation created.
Yeah, like the only thing I'm worried about with that matchup is the crowd being into Momo in Los Angeles. And I know the Los Angeles crowd is going to be hot. We've seen it with AEW plenty of times in the Kia form. This is crypto.com. This is Staples Center. This is going to be a bigger crowd. I just wanted them to kind of introduce Momo in a better way by having her have a match, because she has one of the best arsenals of any woman in the business. The Black Peach driver, the Black Peach suplex, like she will impress everybody. So I think that the right move would have been putting that match up here.
Yeah.
The Mercedes promo, I liked it because I found it funny that Renee knew, but still got it wrong. That was great. Yeah. That was great stuff. Yeah. She knew all the lines, but still got it wrong.
That's right. We got this very good video package for Kenny Omega and Takeshita. Takeshita has grown a second Takeshita since those old videos of him in DDT. Like that, he's twice the size that he was. I don't think that's an exaggeration. If he's 250 pounds now, he was 125 pounds in those videos. That's crazy. You know what I mean? Like he was very, very small. And man, it's hard to even look at him and go like, that's the same guy. I know it's been over a decade and a lot can happen in a decade. I am actually twice the size that I was a decade ago, but in the wrong way. So like, that's a different thing. You know what I mean? So, like there's a difficult thing to say, but here's the deal. I think this match is going to blow everything else out of the water because we know how great Omega and Takeshita are. Obviously, I think Ospreay and Fletcher probably also have a fantastic, claim to be the match of the night for sure. But when Takeshita is on, man, I don't know, man, there's so few people can match whatever that guy does. And Omega wants this to be his real AEW coming out party. Like fully, this is it, because he's got to, if everyone is correct, he's got in their fantasy booking, he's got to win on Sunday, get the international title. Okada gets through, and we're doing Okada, Omega, title for title. We are molding, pushing them together. We are creating the somebody was saying they should call the international title and the continental title put together, that it would become the intercontinental title, and that's just silly. It's going to be the Contranational title. That's just obvious to me. I can't wait to see Kenny Omega, Okada, whichever one becomes the Contranational champion, the first ever Contranational champion. But yeah, he's got to beat Takeshita, and Omega knows he's got to put on like one of the matches of his life to be believable as beating this version of Takeshita. They're both going to go completely all out. I can't wait for that match.
It's very rare in wrestling that we get a match that the floor is probably 5 stars. Mm-hmm. That's Konosuke Takeshita versus Kenny Omega. We have two of the top 5 best in-ring workers in the world. They didn't need any promo time. They didn't really need any matches to hype it up. We just needed a video package to remind everyone of their history, of Takeshita being Kenny's young boy in DDT, then their rivalry from 2023 with Takeshita becoming the first man to beat Kenny Omega twice in 1 week. I was there live in Chicago for that matchup at All Out 2023. It's one of the best matches I've ever seen live, and I will always remember that Blue Thunder Bomb off the top of the rope. That was insane to see live, and I want to see it again. I think Takeshita's at top form right now. We saw him last week have the best Dynamite match of the year against Orange Cassidy, and now he's facing a prime Kenny Omega, who has the best match of the year so far with Gabe Kidd in the Tokyo Dome. He's going to try to outdo that match. He's going to try to outdo the All Out match. He is going to go ham in this matchup. I've seen people say, oh, I want to see Kenny do the similar story that he did with Gabe, that he's still trying to find himself. He's still trying to get back. No, we need Kenny Omega to be Kenny Omega on Sunday, but still it's not enough because Takeshita's on another level. And then somehow, some way, Kenny Omega is able to pull it out because of his veteran wiles or a little small package or whatever it is. He just has a little bit left in the tank that he's able to pull out the win right from under Takeshita. I think that's the style of matchup that I want to see. I want them to go all out and give us the best match possible. But these four guys between Ospreay and Fletcher and Takeshita and Omega, they're going to try to outdo each other. So we're in for two phenomenal matches, two match of the year candidates on Sunday.
Yeah, there's no chance that the first guys who go out will walk backstage and go follow that mother effers. They're definitely saying that, and that it becomes the other. Like you want to draw straws to see who gets to go second, because you want to know the score you got to beat to get beyond it. Like okay, hold on. Now we're going second. We watch them. Now we got to figure out, okay, what are 6 extra spots we can work into the second half of the match to make it even better than that thing. I can't wait for that. Not to mention that like Swerve and Ricochet are going to be in there and going like, everyone forgot about us. I don't know. Maybe we because those two guys are fantastic. So then
you got the two guys with a chip on their shoulder, MJF and Hangman. That's going to be like, oh, y'all forgetting about us? Yo. Those 4 matches they're gonna try to outdo each other, which means that we are in for an instant classic pay-per-view.
Yeah, I firmly agree. We have a question from Meat Enormous for SP3. Who's usually more sour, Alex or Jimmy Mac?
Oh, that's tough. That's tough. because you do it with a smile, and like Jimmy doesn't. I rarely see Jimmy smile. Jimmy only smiles when he's laughing, and that's the only time. So I'm gonna have to give the edge of sourness to Jimmy. I'm gonna have to give the edge.
All right, that's fine.
You have a nice smile, so I appreciate you bringing out that smile. I don't know if he has a nice smile. And I've known him for 20
maybe
years.
We'll never know. It's one of those things. This is the match I thought was going to be the main event slot tonight. Was Cope versus Wheeler Yuta. It's your go home show. It's the world heavyweight title. That's kind of a thing. It's kind of standard. I'm glad it wasn't because of the open-ended ending to it. But we saw Cope attempt to seriously injure 2 members of the Death Riders before with the Concerto. And I think that because the Concerto has been around for as long as it has, it's become kind of like pat. Like we don't recognize how vicious of a thing that is, because in order to do a Concerto to somebody, they've got to pretty much already be unconscious. They can't possibly protect themselves. When someone is basically helpless and you are doing violence to them, that carries an extra charge. When the cops come and get you, you're not allowed to do that. That's worse. So him doing that as the baby face in order to, prove a point and take out the security around the match, I guess has a point. But I've always thought there's got to be a line that if you're going to do that to somebody, they need to have, the person you're doing it to needs to have hurt you personally in a way where you have no other recourse, as opposed to, I have a title match with this guy and I don't like that he has friends, so I'm going to try and murder his friends. Just feels like you're going above and beyond what is necessary. However, I loved this little wrinkle because I assumed that you leave Yuta for last because he's the guy who's probably going to get the worst of it, because he's not like Claudio and Pac. He's not the same type of dude. But I love that we watched a good match between the two of them, and Copeland won with a spear, and then he pulled him up, shook his hand, and said, "This is what's called respect." And he left. And Wheeler was like, "Wait a minute. What? Well, you're not trying to murder me with chairs. I thought I was going to get murdered with chairs." And he didn't know what the hell to think. But I love that also we saw the orders from Mox on Collision. You're going to take him out. You're going to take him out. He's not allowed to get to Los Angeles. He's too dangerous, whatever. I have my quibbles with making, I don't know how old Adam Copeland, the guy who's too dangerous for Jon Moxley. I feel like there's other people we could make that guy, but that's the story they're telling. So Wheeler didn't do his job. And Adam Copeland respected him, shook his hand, which is going to piss off Moxley, I said in my head. And maybe Moxley's the one who ends up really hurting Yuta because Yuta failed him. And that proves that Copeland is the baby face and Moxley's the unhinged one and Moxley's the ultraviolet one, the one who can't be trusted. And so I thought we were going to get that as Moxley comes into the ring. I thought he was going to just beat the absolute crap out of Wheeler Yuta for screwing things up. And he just shoves him around a little bit and wants to yell at him. And Yuta's like, you know what? Screw this. I'm leaving. You can't make me do anything, Dad. And he walks away. He's like, yeah, you better keep walking. I am. I'm going to keep walking. And he kept walking. And then Moxley gets to just stand there with his dick in his hand being like, respect. Well, he doesn't know. That's right. That was... you're gonna get it on Sunday. Like he was just trying to figure. So I'm alone now. So there you go. So now what's gonna happen? Like he was completely lost. He couldn't say anything. So like people are saying that this is the thing. You've actually done the work telling the story. Mox doesn't have the other Death Riders. Adam Copeland is a guy who's got crazy name recognition and like everyone knows him. Everyone wants to sing to his song. He's Edge. Everybody people were really upset with WWE when he came back that he never got a world title run. Maybe AEW is like, yeah, this guy deserves a world title run. At least one since he came back from the neck thing. We're going to give it to him. Maybe that's part of all of this as well. And you also have the Christian factor. Christian, not on the show. I don't know if he's going to be on Collision, not mentioned. He's got that thing. Maybe they don't mention him at all, so we're supposed to forget about him. And if Adam Copeland beats Jon Moxley, Christian. Like, that's just part of their overarching character arc together, especially in AEW, is they can never quite get away from each other. Maybe that's part of it. And if Swerve were to win versus Ricochet and get the number one contendership, Christian cashes in on Copeland, who just beat Moxley, and Christian is the champion. Then you can make it all right in the world, where Christian is the heel we don't like, and Swerve is the guy we love, and Swerve goes into Dynasty, where he had the match to become champion a year ago when he beat Joe. He becomes champion again, and like AEW was great. Was doing really fun stuff when Swerve was champion. All of his stuff was excellent. I think we could try that again this summer. I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, you could sign me up for all of that. I am a fan of I'm a fan of Christian Cage. I'm a fan of Swerve Strickland. So all of that sounds good. The only caveat I would add is what we would get later on in the night. I'm sorry. That is not the Switchblade Jay White that I have ever seen. That's not the Switchblade Jay White that I want to see. So I think it's Switchblade turning on Cope after he wins the title.
Yeah, could be.
And he's the one that sets it up for Christian to cash in because he knows he can beat Christian. He don't know if he can beat Cope. I think that would make more sense because how it was laid out, how I was feeling after the Switchblade interview was, I was like, oh no, that's bait. That's a swerve. Yeah. That's a swerve. That's too nice of Switchblade. So I thought that, Switchblade would be the one to turn on Cope, and that's how Moxley went. And I think that would be a horrible way to end the pay-per-view. It would just leave everyone very flat and disappointed after a great pay-per-view.
If you're going to do that, you can't have that main event. You got to do Tony and Mariah. You should do Tony and Mariah anyway. If you're gonna do that, you got to have Tony and Mariah main event. You know what I mean? Like, I agree. But I mean, there are so many possibilities of who winds up winning that match, who leaves as champion with the Christian factor, that if you said, oh, I know exactly who's going to win, you know, Matt, I'm going to bet on it, I would be like, well, how much though? Because like, I don't know what the odds are. Please don't mortgage your house on this one, because there's too many possibilities here. But if you know for sure you want to mortgage your house, you want to put money down on Christian coming out or Jay White costing Cope or whatever, well, there's one place where you can do that.
I want to talk to you guys about our great partner at BetOnline AG. Yes, the place that lets you bet on pro wrestling. We've gotten our pro wrestling betting odds from them for years, well before we even worked with them. And we're going to tell you a little bit more about them. They got the earliest lines, the fastest payout, the industry best bonuses. They've been trusted for 25 plus years because of their safe and secure environment and their quick payouts. But you can bet on pro wrestling. How cool is that? If you think you know more than anybody, go ahead and look at those odds. It's the same ones you've seen on Fightful for years. You might see one that sticks out to you and you go, wait a second, there's no way that person's going to win. Why are they an underdog? Make yourself some money. BetOnline AG. And hey, it doesn't stop there. Whatever sports you want, they got you covered. Popular games like blackjack and roulette, Supernova, Skyward, all that stuff. BetOnline AG. Please bet responsibly and only bet what you can at BetOnline AG.
Tom Lavalley says, Swerve versus Christian Cage in 2 weeks. I'm ready. No, they'd wait until Dynasty. They'd wait until Dynasty. They wouldn't do it in 2 weeks. But I do think that is at least certainly, maybe it's not the most likely scenario, but it certainly is out there, of Swerve versus Christian Cage at Dynasty is certainly something that is very, very possible coming out of this. Matthew Hooks asks, what else would you add to Revolution? I really miss the Face of the Revolution ladder match. And I would have them do it this year, and I'd have it be a women's one, the first ever women's Face of the Revolution. I think that the winner should face Mercedes, get the TBS thing, have Billy Starks win it. So that's why we're doing that. We're already starting that whole thing off. Give her a real reason to, because Mercedes will be like, you're just a kid, I'm not giving you a title shot, but now she's undeniable. And then you start that whole thing with Mercedes and Athena, with the Billy Starks thing first, and that leads into Athena versus Mercedes. I would love to see a Face of Revolution ladder match again. I miss those. B, if you're going to do it, you should do it for the women, because why not? And C, if they're going to do that, then maybe do the Billy Starks thing. What would you add to Revolution if you had your druthers?
Yeah, I mean, the Face of Revolution is a good shout, because that is kind of missing from this card, and it would be a bunch of fun. I wouldn't mind them doing like a Max Caster Open Challenge, and it's answered by Speedball Mike Bailey, and that's his debut on pay-per-view. I think that would be a good spot for him. But I think that if anything I'm gonna add, it would probably be to the 0 hour. I think that AEW's sweet spot for pay-per-views is 8 to 9 matches. And we're at 9 matches right now. I think if you push it to 10, it's always kind of up or down. We already have one match on the main card that, I think we're both pretty much calling this probably should be a squash with the Outrunners.
I was saying, like, that doesn't really count as a match, though, right? Like, if it's sub 30 seconds, it doesn't really count as a match, right? If you're not long enough that the cage match people can rate your match, then it's not really a match. So, because we got the Outrunners video, which, is them doing their shtick, and it's fine. And this could be on a Dynamite. It could be on a Collision. Like, at this point, if it was somebody else, I just don't want this to be like, okay, we ran through the Outrunners, and now we're going to face the Murder Machines anyway. Like, the Murder Machines really took a big hit, in my estimation, in the way that they lost. Like, they just were such dummies. Like, Lance Archer has been doing this. He's not a rookie. He's been doing this forever. Like the idea that music would make Lance Archer lose to a roll-up is just silly to me. So I hope there's another plan for somebody out there that's not them. They can work their way back into contention. But, I love the Hurt Syndicate. And since they won the titles, it feels like they're being on the show less, which is a problem for me because they're super over and everyone loves them. And I guess my fear is this, is that everyone wants to sing "We Hurt People." Everyone wants to come out there and do the chant, and they love watching the Hurt Syndicate kick ass. And like those are really fun acts to me. And I want, if those things happen organically, you play into it. And I wonder if, like, by having them in on the pay-per-view and having them come up against fan favorites, the Outrunners, and murder them, like, I don't know how that achieves that. That seems to be like, we want them to be firmly heel, so we're going to have them murder two of your faves unapologetically. And I'm like, no, you don't have to do that, though, because we just make them badass tweeners who we love to watch kick ass. And then depending on who they face, like, we'll decide who we want, whether or not we want to see them win or lose. It feels like they're forcing our hands. At least not my hands, because I can't wait to watch the Outrunners get beat. But other people who would normally cheer for both teams, but now they have to choose, and it sometimes that doesn't work out great for the fans at large.
Yeah, I think if they wanted to go this route, the best way to do it would have been to add the Murder Machines in. It's like it should have been like the Murder Machines already had the title shot because they were undefeated in tag team action. Yeah, they had not beaten anyone, which MVP pointed out, but they were undefeated in tag team action. You were building towards that matchup. It should have been Murder Machines have the match. The Outrunners have to beat the Murder Machines to get into the match to make it a way, because putting two popular tag teams against each other is kind of diluting things. You're probably not going to get the crowd behind the Outrunners the way that you really want them to. You're trying to like downplay the overness that is the Hurt Syndicate right now, when they were at their kind of peak after winning the AEW World Tag Team titles. And I was looking forward to them versing a heel tag team like the Murder Machines and just having this big old hoss fight. And I thought it would have worked perfect on this card. And I think that we would all be looking forward to this card a lot more if the Murder Machines were involved in this. Not even because we think the Murder Machines are going to win, but just it would have made for a better matchup. So it's unfortunate they're going to have to go with it however they want to. But I agree with you. It feels like they are trying to say, oh, no, they're heels, even though they're very popular. No, just go with the flow. Just make them, like you said, badass, cool tweeners that will face any tag team and destroy them.
Yeah, I really think that's the way to go. And I hope I'm wrong. That they're not forcing a heel alignment for this team that everybody enjoys watching. So Meat Number says, "Sup, partners? Does Hanger drive that Longhorn Rivian to every show? Is vehicular manslaughter a step up or a step down from arson?" So, see. So anyway, Renee is out in the alley to interview MJF, and I just see the traffic moving briskly in the road at the end of the alley, and I'm like, here comes the truck. And it does. I feel like those horns are bigger this week. Like, those are big. They grew over the past week, 7 days. And he runs up. He wasn't moving fast enough to make me really believe it. But he didn't want to hit Renee, so I get that part. But anyway, he stops the truck and chases it. This was a weird little spot that I think would have worked better in a different context. But the guy who's about the same size as MJF, wearing a similar dark suit, having the same haircut, wearing the scarf, that in the dark backstage, Hangman just starts beating him up and throws him down the ramp. And he turns around. He's like, no, he made me do it. He made me do it. He made me do it. And I'm like, made you stand there wearing a suit and a scarf?
He made you wear the scarf?
Yeah, he made me wear the scarf. I didn't want to, Hanger, I promise. But he made me do it. And I just feel like there's a different context for MJF planting a lookalike to do something else. But wearing a scarf felt like it was a bit much. But then, of course, MJF attacks him from behind. We get a brawl and fighting each other. MJF takes off his jacket to reveal an MJF did nothing wrong t-shirt, which I liked. But eventually he is able to take advantage with the Heat Seeker and then the Diamond Ring, knocking out Page, and then he goes to the camera and says, a microphone. He says, "You all love it when your boy Hangman sets things on fire. Let's see if you like it when I do it." And then he goes and gets a can of lighter fluid and a Zippo, sprays the lighter fluid over everybody. And I liked Riccaboni and Excalibur trying to explain why there were no more security guys. Well, a bunch of them have to stand over by Moxley. Who knows what he's liable to do? And I'm like, he wasn't doing anything tonight. He was just cutting an impotent promo backstage. Like, so that didn't make a lot of sense to me. But eventually, as he's about to light the man on fire, everybody in Sacramento with a license to practice security jumped into that ring and totally took and grabbed him and carried him out. I don't know if there's a better metaphor in the world for modern social media than a man being carried out while he screams, "I need to prove my point!
Let me prove my point! Let me prove my point!
Just let me prove my point!"
Literally, he whined because he wanted to set a man on fire and they didn't allow him to. I was like, this is the perfect kind of entitled prick that I've ever seen in a wrestling context. Let me prove my point! Let me prove my point! Oh my God. I thought that this was a splendid go home segment. I thought that
this was some go home shit right here. This was it.
This was the go home shit I was looking for, because this was perfect, because I love how this rivalry has just been dictated by two things. Their past rivalries and Max's jealousy of Hangman Adam Page being forgiven by the fans. That's all you need to know about this rivalry, is 100%. That Max has always been about his insecurities. Every feud in AEW, you can point out one of his insecurities and him bringing up some past origin story of how much of a prick he became. That's all his feuds have been dictated by. And then Hangman, it's really been the essence of this whole Swerve feud. And how MJF is like, he saw everything that he did to Swerve. How does the fan think he did nothing wrong? And that has triggered him to the point that he attacked and bloodied Christopher Daniels with the help of Christopher Daniels. But that's besides the point. But this segment was what I was looking for on this show. Just MJF going completely snapping and just trying to set him on fire and just being... There was like 20 of them. It took 20 of them. And he's just screaming, "Let me prove my point! Let me prove my point!"
Sir, this is a Wendy's. Like, I'm sorry. No, you have to leave now. I don't know about that one. But I'm really looking forward to this match. You can tell this is the beginning of something. You know what I mean? And this is my deal that I think. I know everybody says Hangman is the main character, and they're playing into that with this, but he really is. Like, he's if the entirety of his time at AEW, like, he's not going to be champion the whole time. He's not going to be the main event guy the whole time. But like, you can trace what's going on in AEW by what's going on with Hangman Adam Page, even when he's gone. Like, there's stuff that you can see. He is the protagonist within there. When you see there's a volume there where he turned to the dark side, but he's trying to come back. And now you come up against the guy who is the real antagonist of the story of AEW. Max even went to the good side for a while, but we always knew inside he was our scumbag. He never wasn't a scumbag. He was always a scumbag. We just liked him for a while, but we always knew he was a bad guy. And so now we get, for the first time, really, the true protagonist of AEW versus the true antagonist of AEW. And this is the kind of thing that can last a very long time, over years and years, not obviously consecutively, but always coming back to it. I also love the idea of the other characters that each of them have had major chapters against, playing into this in different ways. I still think that the ultimate redemption for Hangman must be when Swerve somehow forgives him. I don't know what it's going to take to do that, but like that might not be for several years. But like there's got to be a thing there that's the worst thing he's ever done, and he knows it, and he can never apologize for it enough. And how can he make amends? And in the middle of, because he was about to want to try and do that when he walked into Swerve's thing a month ago, and now he got waylaid by what is going to be the thing that is going to preoccupy him for the next year, probably, is MJF. And he has to be able to get back around to being the guy who can at least apologize in a meaningful way to Swerve, even if Swerve never accepts the apology. The only way he can ever get back to being the good man he once was is if he can close that chapter for good. And in the meantime, now he's got the real villain of the story he's got to deal with. There's such great stuff to do with Hangman and MJF.
There's so much layers to it, and AEW deserves like a pat on the back for the fact that this is only going to be their second match together. They only face for that first Dynamite Diamond Ring, and you're 100% right. This is the protagonist, the antagonist of AEW. These are the first two homegrown stars that AEW made. Yes, Hangman had his history in Ring of Honor and New Japan, but AEW took the first 2.5 years of the company and tore down everything that we knew about Hangman Adam Page and made him into the anxious millennial cowboy that needed to lose all of his friends, lose the elite, get kicked out of the elite, be rebuilt by the Dark Order, win the AEW World Championship, then lose the AEW World Championship, be lost for a whole year, and then find himself in the middle of this whole feud with Swerve Strickland that has really kind of been the next chapter of his AEW career and really defined his next chapter of the AEW career, because we're still seeing the ramifications of that feud through his feud that he had with Jay White, through him being involved back in the world title scene, to him now trying to redeem himself and become the good man that he once was. And everything that went down with Christopher Daniels has also dictated this feud, and everything that MJF went through with losing the only friend that he made in Adam Cole and becoming the scumbag that we always knew he was. And now he's basically jealous and hell-bent to take down Hangman because he's been forgiven for everything that he did. And this is always Max's thing. He's always jealous of the people choosing someone else over him, and it's made him go to the over the line that we all think that is there. He always has to go past it with what he says and what he does, and this was just another chapter of that here.
Yeah. Agreed. This has the potential to be like the story part of the pay-per-view, which I'm really excited about, because I know these guys are great wrestlers, but there's going to be something in there where you go, okay, this is building to something really great down the line. You can tell.
It feels like a true toss-up of I don't know for sure who's going to win this on Sunday.
Yeah, I feel like Hangman's got to lose because MJF is just the son of a bitch. You make sure that he does, and then Hangman, because we see Hangman is like he will not let something go, so he will come after MJF. Hangman wins, and MJF will be pissed about it, but he'll move on to something else. Like if MJF wins, Hangman will be like, I must murder you now. Like it'll they'll figure out a way to make that continue. They had an announcement today, and they talked about a lot on the show, that now you can get the pay-per-views on Amazon Prime. It doesn't mean that if you have Amazon Prime that you get the pay-per-views for free. I checked, but it does mean there's another alternative for you to be able to do that. However, there's a way to get them cheaper if you just pretend like you're from, Lithuania or something.
Buying pay-per-views on NordVPN.com/Fightful is going to enhance your pay-per-view buying process. Now, one subscription to NordVPN has so many different benefits, but if you're a big pay-per-view buyer like myself, UFC, boxing, pro wrestling, all that good stuff, any combination of the three, if they're doing a fight circus or something like that, this subscription will pay for itself after 1 or 2 pay-per-view buys. Change your virtual location, pay for it at the prices that other people are paying for it in the UK, in Australia, etc., etc. And you can get different interfaces. Maybe you don't like Peacock and you want to check out the WWE Network the way that it used to be, the way that it was designed to be, the easy navigation, so on and so forth. Maybe you want to watch AEW without commercials. Maybe there's some other overseas services that you can't subscribe to and you want access to them. NordVPN.com/Fightful gives you that with a great deal and a 30-day money-back guarantee. Even better, 24/7 tech support, so if you have trouble navigating any of it, they can help you out. Fastest VPN on the planet, NordVPN.com/Fightful.
Two Kate S segues by Alex on the show. Two Kate S.
Listen, she's the queen of the segues. I just try and make them subtle and kind of flow in there, but she's decided no, we're like she is the one. She's a showman. She's a showman about it, and I respect the hell out of it. I don't have that kind of flair for it. I just bleed real quick right into it, and I'm out. Hey, so we got Megan Bayne, Penelope Ford versus Thunder Rosa and Kris Statlander. This was a really fun women's tag match. With more of the Megan Bayne is a superstar aura out of this thing. You watch it and you go, okay, well, so how fast is too fast for her to be the women's champion? You know what I mean? Like, is I can't double or nothing? Dynasty might be too soon. Double or nothing? Like, you know what I mean? Like, so that's the thing with her is that she's just so damn impressive. And this was a lot of fun. Statlander's great. Thunder Rosa's great. Penelope Ford's great. Megan Bayne has this thing right now where you go and you, what? I don't even know what I'm watching sometimes when she's doing stuff. So like so I'm very excited to see where all of this goes with her coming out of this. She pins Thunder Rosa after her version of an F5, which they called something, and I missed it. Yeah, I always thought she called it the bow down because that's what she screams before she does it. Like Dijak's feast your eyes. But like they bow down. Okay, I will. Why would I not? If I don't, you're probably going to hurt me. So yes, I am bowing. We're bowing. We're not worthy. Megan Bayne. So yeah, I think that she is absolutely fantastic, and something that struck me a few weeks ago, well, maybe well over a month ago now, was when she was making her debut in that women's casino gauntlet match, and Mariah May was on commentary. It's like, who is that? She shouldn't be allowed to be in the match. What are we talking? And so that's why I'm like, I'm not entirely certain that Toni Storm wins on Sunday. And if she doesn't, maybe it's like Mariah May wins and like, oh, thank God I'm the champion now, and she's now loopy-loo. Like that's her new thing. But the thing that she is loopy-loo about is having to run for her life from Megan Bayne, who is like Michael Myers just stalking her through the hallways. Like you could just see like Mariah May running, looking over her shoulder, and she turns around and like Megan Bayne's just walking very slowly toward her. I mean, it could be fun. I don't know. I'm all in on, like, if you give me future stocks to buy for women's division, it's Megan Bayne. I'm putting all my money into Megan Bayne stocks. What do you think? Am I overselling the thing or
No, you're not. You're not at all. That one spot where she did the fireman's carry and launched Thunder Rosa onto Kris Statlander and just looked at Penelope Ford, and Penelope Ford's like, oh no. Slips her up and then tosses her. I was like, I know her nickname's the Megasis, but every time she's in the ring, I'm like, that's Megan the Beast Bayne. I was like, oh man, she's just a straight up beast in that ring, and they just make her feel so overpowered, and her getting getting the win pretty much on her own and dragging Penelope forward around at times during this matchup. It was just perfect. It was basically she won the matchup, and Penelope, the only thing she did was trip Kris Statlander off the ropes. I thought Statlander and Thunder Rosa were good in this matchup too, but I agree with you. I think that Megan Bayne is going to be a future challenger for Timeless Toni Storm or whoever comes out on Sunday, and I think that is going to be our next AEW Women's World Champion, because what else am I gonna think? Like she seems like she's ready to go. Yeah, and this was a fun matchup here. Another way to kind of put her over. But I really wish that this had anything to do on Sunday, and that we could have done like maybe Kris Statlander and Megan Bayne on the pre-show or something like that to kind of push.
You could have done this. You could have done this on Dynamite next week. Like start building Megan Bayne for a major spot going into Dynasty or Double or Nothing. You didn't have to do that this week. You could have done the thing like you were talking about, Momo versus Serena Deeb.
Or this match could have been on the 0 hour on Sunday.
Yeah, true.
This
true.
matchup, this matchup had been built to pretty much. You could have just done a promo on this show to set it up for 0 hour to kind of give her the further kind of spotlight. But Megan Bayne, yes, I agree with you. One of the next AEW Women's World Champion, if not the very next AEW Women's World Champion.
Oh yeah. We got a Max Caster Open Challenge. I like that he doesn't even know how to do a good chant for his stupid thing.
Max Caster, best wrestler of live.
Max Caster, best wrestler alive.
He is the greatest delusional loser heel in a long time.
He's really impressed me with how well he's done this thing. However, and I believe I said this last week, everyone wanted the Acclaimed to break up to get an Anthony Bowens singles run. Like that was like you broke them up and then decided we're gonna put the wrong dude on TV over and over again. I really like what Max Caster's doing, but I was like, now we get Anthony Bowens. We get an Anthony Bowens run, right? And now we got a question here saying this Max Caster Open Challenge is leading to Bowens answering after Revolution, right? Like that's got to be the thing this is leading to is eventually the guy who answers is Anthony Bowens. But also, if that's going to be it, Max Caster has been absolutely being trucked by everybody. And if you're going to do an Anthony Bowens versus Max Caster breakup feud, like there have to be actual matches because that's what the feud is. So it would make Anthony Bowens look less than if everyone just trucks Max Caster and then Anthony Bowens answers the open challenge and they have a spirited 8-minute bout, and it just wouldn't work, you know? So I don't know how maybe they have him answer the open challenge and the first one is he just destroys him. But Max Caster's okay, no more open challenges. Now we're doing this for real, one-on-one. Like this is real. You owe this to me. And then they have the match. But Anthony Bowens still wins it. I don't know. But I do think that there's a lot of fun stuff with you know what I would honestly love to see? And I don't know if they would give it to us. But one day I want him, before the Bowens thing happens, I want him to have the open challenge, and the person who comes out is Megan Bayne, who just destroys him, you know, like you're like, hold on now, I didn't sign up for this. Yes, you did, she says, and she just picks him up, bow down, drops him on his face. That would be fun. Who says no? That
would be great. I'm here for it. You sold me already. I'm here for that. Please give it to me. But I've been really enjoying Max being this delusional loser heel. I do agree with you. I do want to see Bowens go on a singles run, and I do think that this will eventually lead to Bowens answering the best wrestler alive open challenge and probably washing him in a few seconds, and then like you said, you could set up the rematch where it's a little bit of a program for him. I think they're just trying to kind of work on repackaging Anthony Bowens on his own. I know he's trademarked the pride of pro wrestling and stuff like that, so maybe he needs new gear, he needs a new music, so they're repackaging him. He's going to the Oscars, he's doing all his regular stuff that he's doing out there because he's so great at what he does. Anthony Bowens, someone that I've watched on the East Coast independent scene for a decade now, so I'm so happy what he's doing in AEW, and I want to see him on his own. But I really like what Max is doing. Him getting the Max logo on his tights. Max.
Yep.
He's doing the little things that is just like, I hated you in the Acclaim so much because you were trying to be a babyface and the scissoring and the rap gimmick got old. But this right here, you've kind of found your niche.
Yep. Yeah. So Jay White is the one who answers the call. It's he's kind of messing around with him for a little bit, but then ends up hitting the Blade Runner, and cuts a promo about how he and Adam Copeland are such great pals. And so Matt Gray Sky says Jay White is up to something. He is, or they want you to think that he is. I think he may be very interesting. Of certainly one of the things that we think is possible happening during that match. They'll tease and we'll get the opposite of that or whatever. Like Jay White, Christian Cage comes out and we think, hey, great, Christian Cage is going to cash in on Adam Copeland. Like that's a thing we thought was going to happen like during the match, but then Jay White shows up and says no, he takes out Christian Cage. I'm like, oh, good. Jay White is here to protect Adam Copeland, his friend. And then Jay White turns on Adam Copeland. Like it's going to be one of those things that, like, there's going to be a lot of baits and switches, a swerve to get to another swerve. Wheeler Yuta, will he choose Adam? He's there. He showed up. Is he going to turn on? He's going to help Adam Copeland. But no, just kidding. He's actually on Mox's side still. Or Wheeler Yuta comes out and he actually hits a running knee on Jon Moxley and like, I quit, and he leaves. Like, oh, great. Now Moxley's really alone and Adam Copeland is there and nobody's there to back up Jon Moxley. The Death Riders are done. And then all of a sudden, Josh Alexander debut as the secret weapon, the brand new guy who joins the Death Riders because he found somebody new. James Stallings says, will there be a Josh Alexander debut? I'm not saying that this is how I would do it or that they will or that they should or whatever. I'm just saying him being alone, if he ends up winning this, which at this point everybody says just get the title off the Death Riders. But if he ends up winning this, I think the reason he ends up winning it is because he has a secret weapon, a new member of the Death Riders. And Josh Alexander would fit the mold of the type of dudes who would be doing this. That's just that to me. That seems not. I'm not even saying I'm predicting it in any way, but if it happened, I would not be at all shocked.
I like that as an addition to the Death Riders, where I think that would be a fine way to close the show. It's someone new coming in, and I see Miss Mary bringing up Jeremy Lambert over on In the Weeds. He came up with Jack Perry, and I was just like, oh my god, that'd be probably worse than Jay White just turning to help help Moxley get the win. Jack Perry being the newest member of the Death Riders, it would make sense from that little segment they do. But please don't.
No, not now. But after Full Gear, after he lost, I could have. And we were definitely in a different chapter of the Death Riders at that point. Mox had only been the champ for like less than 2 months. Like we were in a different chapter, and we already saw him like praising Jungle Boy. Like, you're a sweet kid. I've always thought so. And so Jungle Boy being down and out and like hating himself after losing the thing, and Moxley says, "Get up, kid. You're with us." Like, I absolutely could have seen it in the last part of November or December. Now it just feels way late to do any of that. So I think that there's a very good chance that there is somebody who Copeland did not account for that will be there to help Jon Moxley if Jon Moxley is going to win. Which again,
I think that's the more likely scenario, because this story was built for the person that I know Alex doesn't like to eventually win the AEW World Championship. So
I just don't know if they have finally gone like, we can't wait for Darby to come back from, you know what I mean? Like
you cannot wait for someone who has a 40% chance of dying. that is not wise.
You can't wait for it. And my thought was, if Moxley retains and Swerve wins, like Swerve is the absolute right guy to beat Moxley, to me, more so to me than Adam Copeland. The only reason to me you would do Adam Copeland now is if you have the Christian Cage thing in your back pocket that you want to do, and maybe even Swerve beating Christian Cage for it. Or if you're just like, we need to get the damn title off of Moxley now because we have run out of ideas. We cannot wait for Darby to maybe or maybe not get eaten by a Yeti. We have to get this thing started. We can't wait until Double or Nothing. We got to do it. So maybe that's part of it. My highlight of the entire evening was this pre-taped Mariah May and Toni Storm interview. Parker Hines agrees, says, my goodness, Toni and Mariah, this is how you make use of their time. In 2 minutes, it fired me up for the third match. It was so friggin' great. James Zimmerman, member for 34 months. Thank you for being a member for so long. That interview segment was timeless. 4 out of 4 stars. It was phenomenal. Like, out of nowhere, before a word is said between the two, Mariah May stands up, leans over, and spits in her face. Renee freaks out, but Toni Storm, nothing. One of the funniest deadpan deliveries I've ever heard in wrestling, in TV, in movies. It's good to know you still care. Like it was just like she's got loogie all over her face. And just, it's good to know you still care. Like it's
never wiped it off the entire promo.
No, the whole way through. Just let it drip. Like it was just, my God. But Mariah May, like she, look what she did. She made me do this. And like Renee is like, at this point, can't even play like objective interviewer. She's like, you did this. You did all of this. This was all your fault. Like, is she like, you could tell Renee knows she's not supposed to take sides here, but come on. And then I liked Mariah's promo through the whole thing. You're like, that was really good, but she's friggin' lost it, which is really cool to see that new side of her. And then the response from Toni Storm, you do not deserve the dignity of death, so I will sentence you to a life of mediocrity. Like, she's just amazing. She's one of my absolutely, I think, to male or female, she might be my favorite character in wrestling history. Just everything about her is so perfectly performed. I loved it. The thing they did earlier in the night where they had the director of the movie that she's in come out, and she's like, hello, Mrs. Emil, I'm going to put my close up. And then I loved that in order to actually relate to her on the set, the idea is that he had to play some old-timey British Hollywood director. Like, oh, yes, sorry we had to cut your nude scene, but don't worry, it's ended up in my private stash. And she was like, good to know. Like, it was just, I really loved that segment, and that was played for comedy, and this was also in a way that can't help but make you laugh or at least smile, but everything she's saying is deadly serious. And like I love this, like, that no one's going to remember you except for one time you decided that you wanted to see what it was like to fight God or something like that. And it was like, that was great. I love the little thing of like, I just pray that you both don't end up getting hurt. And they say to each other's face at the same time, pray for her. Pray for her. That's just, this is an amazing interview.
I was like, cinema. This was set up.
100%.
Immediately, it made it so much riveting television for Mariah May to just start off the interview with just spitting in our face. I was like, I was that's worse than slapping somebody, spitting in their face.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God. And then Mariah has really done well with this unhinged character, like losing the AEW Women's World Championship, her master plan. She's always been like greater. She's always been very confident, she's had this all planned out, but her losing the title in Australia has just brought out this whole different side of her where she's actually now what she's been calling herself for months. She is a woman from hell. She is unhinged. She has no recollection of reality. That's why I loved Renee's role in this as well. I thought Renee was excellent in this segment too, to just stop being objective and just be like, you're the one who got into her life. You positioned yourself in her life. You became her mentor. You became her protege. This is all your fault. This is not her fault. And then the calm demeanor of Toni Storm as she's saying, you will dwindle into mediocrity. You will be liked but never loved. Oh my God. I was like, she was just dropping bars, and then
but never great. Liked but never loved. Oh my God.
Mariah May kind of just going back. She was like over Renee's slap, trying to get to her, trying to scar her with the words that she was saying, but it had no effect on Toni. It was just like Toni was just, okay, you're shooting me, but I'm just flicking away your bullets, and now I'm just about to hit you with all the bullets. And it was like Mariah May was getting hit. She was like, oh, and ooh, to the point that she went all the way back, and then they got up in each other's faces. And like you said, that final line of pray for her, I was like, oh my God, that is a go home pay-per-view main event segment, and they did it in 2 minutes. They did it with a tenth of the time that Cope and Mox, which will probably be the main event, got. They did it in 2 minutes and sold me that should be the main event. It should not be Mox and Cope. It should be that, because these women have done 18 months in delivering one of the greatest women's wrestling stories that we have ever seen and will ever see. This is one of the greatest stories in AEW history. They deserve to be the first ever women's pay-per-view main event. And man, God is your witness, Tony Khan. I don't know if you're going to have a chance to deliver another women's pay-per-view main event that has been this well built.
Not like this. Over a year of the whole the finish of a trilogy. Like it's everything. It is the way to do it. Especially it's a Falls Count Anywhere. Like like you could do it. You could do major spots during it. All of it is fantastic. And also this from Reveries, this promo made me believe Mariah could still win. Like that's the thing, is that I it would not shock me if Mariah just won the title back. But it's this version of her, not the glamour. But she'll never quite get the thing back that was taken from her. Like that's a whole, like I won the title, but what is that now? Like, and maybe she clings to it like her precious or whatever. There's some really interesting stuff, which is why I love the idea of Megan Bayne just stalking her until she got the title back. Like until she got the title from her, and Mariah like wanting nothing to do with it, because that insanity could become part of it as well. I think Toni wins. And I'm really interested in seeing how far they will let Mariah spiral into Laurel Van Ness territory. Like how much of a complete Looney Tunes could she possibly be? Like I'm really excited to see Mariah play that version of her character, because we've seen perfectly preened and everything. We've seen that in different ways. I want to see her completely gaga, just have no idea what she is.
This is the character that can finally break the tether between her and Toni Storm. We need this to be like the definitive end of their rivalry, and we need to see her go more unhinged. But now she can't go after Toni. She can't take out her unhinged kind of personality and this character change on the person that she wants to, because she's exhausted all of her opportunities against her, and now she has to take it out on somebody else. And you can have her interact interact with someone like a Megan Bayne. You can have her interact with someone like a Willow Nightingale again, or Kris Statlander, someone that she's never interacted with, or Thunder Rosa again. There's so many different ways you could take this character, but I think that this is going to be the real woman from hell character that could make Mariah May into all the storyline investment that they've given to her. She can finally take that away from Toni Storm and still deliver.
100%. I'm very excited for it. There's the reason why I obviously this should be the main event. The reason why I think that Moxley and Copeland will be the main event is because I think there's way more likely a title change happening there. Yes. In some fashion, whether or not it is Copeland who ends the night as the champion or Christian Cage wins the night as champion. I think there's a very good chance. Or if they don't, then the way that they get to Moxley retaining involves so many moving parts, maybe a big debut, a whole bunch of stuff, people teasing a cash in that doesn't happen, or people teasing a turn that doesn't happen, or the turn does happen, but there's a double cross or whatever. There's a whole bunch of stuff. That match feels like it is ripe for, let's throw everything we can at it to make it seem more spectacular than it actually is. And because of that, I feel like that probably main events. I just don't want Tony and Mariah to go on third. You know what I mean? Like let's figure out a way to like perfectly place them as the co-main event. You know what I mean?
Either right before the main event or like middle of the card. Like it needs to, it can't be second match like All In. It can't do that. You can't do that again like that. I always go back to that All In card. I was like, they tried to do the women so much disservice. They had Britt and Mercedes go after MJF and Will Ospreay. They had that long 9-month storyline between Tony and Mariah be the second match after a ladder match on that card. It still delivered, and it was one of the best women's pay-per-view matches that they've ever had, but they could have been even more if you position it anywhere else on the card. So they gotta get the placement. This is always the issue with AEW cards. Sometimes it's match placement more than anything.
Yeah, it is. I agreed. We got our main event: Okada and Ricochet versus Swerve Strickland and Brody King. This is when it was made official that it'll be Okada versus Brody King at Revolution, which should be a hell of a match that Okada is guaranteed to win. So this tag match was a lot of fun. We got a lot of cool interaction between all the moving parts. We got Brody King getting to be giant fun. Like this is the kind of stuff that, much as I don't enjoy currently the man who played him, this is the kind of stuff that Kane would do in the early 2000s, would just be a guy in a tag match getting to be the giant dude who hucks people around, and it was fun. Like, I could absolutely see them like, hey, Kane, you've got a dude on one shoulder. Here's another dude for your other shoulder. Just stand there until I jump on their heads. And Kane would just do it. Like, so, like, this is the true tragedy of Mayor Glenn Jacobs. Is I used to be such a fan of just Kane being a big dope in a mask. And
they're trying to take away
become what this is, but anyway, I won't get into that. So
they're trying to take away 2001, 2002 Kane from us when he had the cut off sleeves and he was jacked to the gills. Oh my God, that's the best Kane.
But you can't be redeemed at this point. However, this match was a lot of fun. Loved it, and ended up being Ricochet picking up a fallen belt because Rick Knox is there, and Rick Knox doesn't keep track of anything that's going on in the ring. So he picks up a belt and hits Swerve with it, and Rick Knox turns around and goes, "Oh, a guy who was perfectly conscious 2 seconds ago is now dead. I guess it's fine." And Ricochet pins him, and Ricochet gets to be on top, albeit with a big old Band-Aid on his forehead, but he gets to be on top coming out of tonight. And so hopefully that means, according to wrestling math, that Swerve wins and becomes the number one contender for his title. And I'm really, really, really excited to see what all of those matches do. I think Brody, I joke about Okada guaranteed to win, but it's only because they have that Omega thing, like just right there, that they're going to keep him around for. But Brody King is going to be a fantastic dance partner for this version of Okada. It's going to be excellent. I don't think Okada can hit a Rainmaker once and just put out a big Brody King. You got to like wrestle a different match, which I'm really excited for. But Swerve and Ricochet is going to be a really excellent, like that's going to be that perfect hybrid of like the MJF and Hangman story match with the Takeshita and Kenny like spot fest. It's going to be this hybrid of both things. I think that could really surprise a lot of people with how great those two guys are going to be, because you could tell they were holding some stuff back when they had that Atlanta match. They were holding it back for this, and this is gonna blow some people's socks off.
And they gave us like really good sequences in this matchup, and it gave you a little taste of what you're gonna get on Sunday, where they're not gonna hold back. Yeah, you're absolutely right. The Atlanta match was great, but this was like the appetizer before the main course on pay-per-view, and we all knew that going into Atlanta that they were probably going to have a rematch at Revolution. But they've had the best build to me up until this pay-per-view. Like everything that Ricochet has done, he's become this great, despisable Rick Murray from Degrassi heel, the bullied guy who's now snapped and going after his bully. And then Swerve has kind of been having to reflect on his past. And I love how Nana's been so endearing in that this match is not just for the number one contendership. It's for the legacy of Prince Nana and for the robe. But I love that Ricochet, through hook or crook, he's able to always get the upper hand on Swerve. And I love Swerve at the end, like trying to kick out, but he's too knocked out to do it.
Yeah, great stuff. Referee saying that this main event felt very random at first, but I think Swerve and the Hounds of Hell might actually have some legs as an alliance. I really liked the way Swerve was playing with Brody King. That was a lot of fun. Brody King, like Irish whipping him into other people, was a lot of fun. I guess Buddy's dealing with something, but when he comes back, like that could be a really fun, like, hey, I'm fighting a guy who's got friends. I don't really have a lot of those. But Brody, I teamed with you once. Will you help me out? Is Buddy available? And Buddy's like, say no more. And then they have a really fun little trios match. I mean, I could absolutely see that if Christian ends up the champion and they're going into Dynasty, like Christian and Nick Wayne and Kip Sabian versus Swerve and the Hounds of Hell could be a really fun little, a bunch of shit heels trying to figure out like how to get what are we gonna do with these guys? Like that could be a lot of fun.
Yeah. I like the way they've used the Hounds of Hell so far, and they've mostly used them, to enhance Okada, but it's actually been helping Okada. I thought the match with Buddy Matthews at Grand Slam was really good, and I suspect the match with Brody King to be even better than that. I just want them to do one thing: recreate the Shibata no-selling Rainmaker spot with Brody. He's the perfect person to do it, where Okada tries for the Rainmaker and he just has no effect.
No effect. None. It'd be great. Meet Norma's talking about the Rivian bullhorns that they need to be goalposts next week. Just full-on goalposts that size of horns. Just gigantic. Yeah, just keep them growing. Let's go. I want him to be so big that like it's the nose of the car is like down and the back wheels are up. Like just that's how big. Do one of those.
His car looked like a transformer last week. It was going too fast this week for me to be like, oh, it's a transformer again.
Yeah. All right, SP3. Thank you so much for getting up at the middle of the night to talk with us about the show. Tell people where they can find you, what you've been doing, what you're up to, and where they can find you going forward.
Thank you for having me today, Alex. Like I always say, with Fightful, with you, with Kate, with Sean, if you guys need me, just put up the bat signal. Your substitute teacher, the Black Rod Building, will be here on Fightful every single time. So thank you for having me tonight. You can follow me on the Twitter machine at TrueHillSP3. You can see a lot of my content over on the True Hill Heat YouTube channel. I'll be doing another review of AEW Dynamite tomorrow, AE Ramble, with the other sour person in our lives. lives, Jimmy Macaram. So join us for that at 1:05 p.m. Eastern time. I'll be live with Joe Pearl over on Fightful Overbook at 10 a.m. Eastern time for In the Weeds. We'll be talking about AEW, talking about the news in the wrestling world, some more WWE stuff to discuss there, and a preview of TNA wrestling as well. So you can see all that content, and you can read my content over at si.com. I had the 10 greatest WWE women's wrestlers of all time, and I'm always willing to debate you about it as long as you're not defending a sex trafficker like Fabulous Moolah. That's where I draw the line. But check that out. And coming up soon, probably this week, my the 10 biggest wrestling heel turns ever. I'll be dropping that. So check that out as well. But thank you so much for having me.
You're very, very welcome. I always love doing stuff with you. It is a fun energy between me and, of course, the black male Kate Elizabeth. So
not a white woman.
Nope,
the opposite. The opposite of a white woman.
Of a white woman. There you go. There you go. All right, everybody. Kate and I will be reviewing Revolution on Sunday on Fightful Select. $6. It's really. You should get it. But until then, we'll see you all next week for this as well. Also, I'm sure Collision will have their normal review thing as well. There should be a lot of fun stuff on Collision. I hear about a hologram and Dralistico match that's going to be on Collision, so that'll be fun. So anyway, watch that. Listen to everybody talk about that here on Fightful YouTube. Anyway, thanks so much, everybody. Drop a like on your way out. Helps us out.